Okay, so we're looking at Pearson BTEC Level 3 National Extended Diploma in Business, and the specification from first teaching September 2016. We're looking at Learning Aim A still, explore the features of different businesses and analyze what makes them successful. We're looking at Learning Aim A3, so effective business communications now. So for Unit 1, Learning Aim A3, effective business communications, we're looking at appropriate presentation and delivery of information to a given audience. Written presentations, for example, financial, non-financial, formal and informal reports. Oral presentations, so for example, computer projection, for example, PowerPoint, with speaker notes. And the importance of communication to aid business success, for example, social media and virtual communities. And this will help us to answer the assessment criteria M1. So assess the relationship and communication with stakeholders of two contrasting businesses using independent research. So that's a key point there. Students must use independent research, okay? You have to use independent research. You have to do a lot of research and use this for your task for M1. Now, effective business communications. Communication is essential in all businesses and walks in life. Effective business communication must be conveyed in the correct way to the most appropriate person using the most useful or logical method. Okay? Overloading your audience with information using inappropriate language or using the wrong method will only confuse your intended audience. Okay, so you should be able to analyze or assess whether you should be using formal speech or informal speech, like for example slang. You should be able to assess who you can use those kinds of language with. Okay, probably with your friends you will use slang, and most likely with maybe your teacher or manager or a colleague at work, you'll use more formal methods of communication or language. Businesses communicate with different stakeholders using different methods, and then I've just got a little example down at the bottom. Would you write and post a letter to your teacher about an urgent issue, or send an email, or communicate verbally after the lesson? Which would you pick? What would be the most appropriate method of communication? A letter may take days for the teacher to receive that letter. An email, again, may take a while for that teacher to receive that email and respond to it. Okay, some teachers check their emails but may have to respond at a later time or a later date. Communicating verbally after the lesson, probably your best option if it's an urgent issue. Communicating verbally after the lesson, waiting for the lesson to finish and then asking the teacher any questions. Another example there, would you send an email to your grandparents? What would you do? Would you send them a letter? Would you send them an email? Would you maybe give them a phone call? How would you communicate with your grandparents? Some grandparents aren't really familiar with emails. Some are. Some grandparents still love that sentimental value of a letter being written to them and receiving that letter in the post. So it all depends on your grandparents, I guess, and what they prefer. But just generally speaking, can grandparents or that age group really interact with emails? I guess it depends on your grandparents. Okay. So for effective business communications, we're looking at written presentations. Okay, so we've got some examples here: financial reports, income statements, balance sheets. An income statement is an account showing the income and expenditure of a company over a period of time. Okay, so it's usually a year, and it allows shareholders or owners to see how the business has performed and whether it has made a good amount of profit. Okay, it helps to identify whether the profit earned is sustainable. It also allows for comparison with other businesses and other businesses in the industry as a whole. Okay, and where the business sits in terms of the industry as a whole as well. Another financial report there is a balance sheet. It shows what a business owns and what a business owes. Okay, or in other words, their assets and their liabilities. Okay, now assets is what they own, and liabilities is what a business usually owes. Okay, assets may include building, stocks, equipment, items, inventory, or cash. Okay, these are the things that a business owns. And liabilities will include maybe loan repayments, profit payments, or dividends, or rent, or wages. Okay. Now we've also got some non-financial reports, maybe health and safety reports, customer satisfaction reports, employee retention rates, these reports, and any other financial or non-financial reports you can think of. There's plenty. Okay, but these are just some examples of how businesses may communicate. Okay, through these types of reports. You've got formal reports, so maybe letters to customers, emails to managers, minutes of a meeting being kept, and websites. Okay, websites is a bit of a, I guess that's a subjective one. It's up to you whether you think a certain website may be formal or a certain website may be informal. You've got some websites like gov.uk, government websites, they're very formal. You've got other websites that may be informal. Okay, you've got informal reports there. So an email to a colleague may be informal. It may just be a hey, what are you up to today, or just trying to update you with some information, but in an informal way. Hey, we've got a meeting after school, 3 p.m. Whatever. And another informal report could be a little note that you send to somebody. A magazine could be an informal report that could be seen as informal. Leaflets, flip charts, maybe any social media accounts. Okay, so these can be seen as informal reports. Now, some advantages and disadvantages. Advantages of written presentations are that it's a permanent record, it's professional. For example, minutes being kept. If you don't know, minutes are, if you have a meeting, somebody will usually keep minutes where they will keep information which was discussed at each minute of the meeting. Okay, so that will be there, and that's like a professional record sort of thing. You can come back to that at a later date. So we're moving on to the second bullet point now. You can come back to those minutes that were taken by that specific person at a later date. If it's like a sales report or like an income statement, again that's all collated. The information is there in the report. It can be referred back to at a later date. Emails as well. Even the informal emails, they can be referred back to at a later date if necessary, if needed. It also allows for information to be clearly presented and explained in detail. Okay, it gives the author the ability to do that. Okay, to just present the data and explain it in detail, in depth, in a professional format. Disadvantages of written presentations is that it is time consuming to produce, and maybe costly as well to produce. Okay, to come up with these financial statements, you may need to employ a specialist, maybe. So it could be costly to produce, and again, time consuming definitely. Another disadvantage is that you may provide too much information and cause confusion to the audience. Okay, so that could be a disadvantage as well, providing too much information in these reports. And it could be timely to go over these reports as well. We've got oral presentations, okay? So PowerPoint presentations, again with speaker notes. So at the bottom of your PowerPoint presentation, you usually have like an area where you can type up notes or add in more writing. So again, PowerPoint presentations with speaker notes. Verbal conversations with people. It can be formal or informal, but these are just verbal conversations you'll have with someone. Maybe you're walking through the school corridor, bump into a friend or a colleague, and you just have a quick conversation, update them. It could be a mixture of you presenting the PowerPoint then, so you're verbally presenting that. Okay. I've also added in videos as well, so you could be, orally speaking um, on in videos, for example, Loom or YouTube, or any other means that you can choose or identify. Okay. Now, some advantages for oral presentations are that it allows for clearing up any misconceptions through two-way conversations. Okay, so bumping into that person in the corridor, you might just update them quickly about something. They may reply back to you. They may say, "Oh, that meeting isn't on today at 3 p.m. It's on tomorrow." Okay, so it clears up any misconceptions. If you say something to that person, the person receiving the information may just be a bit confused and may ask you there and then, "What do you mean by that?" Okay, so that's an advantage. It can be interactive. Okay, so the person presenting can ask the audience, "Okay, discuss with the person next to you. What are your opinions on this, or how would you go about tackling this situation?" And then you can then feedback to the presenter and give your ideas. The presenter can include emotions within their communication, so they can try and portray some emotions to their audience and try and win them over, or maybe persuade them, okay, to maybe buy a product. And this is usually a cheaper alternative, okay? Verbally communicating information is usually, or can be generally seen as a cheaper alternative. Some disadvantages is that it's difficult to provide or remember all the necessary information verbally, so the person communicating that information may not be able to remember everything. There may be slides on the PowerPoint, but they may not be able to remember everything that they need to discuss. Even their speaker notes may not be as detailed. And actually, the people receiving that information, they may not be able to process everything all at once, especially if it's at a certain time of the day. If it's at the end of a working day, it may be difficult to process. If it's right at the beginning, people may be still, in that zombie state, waking up sort of thing. So it may be difficult to process all of the information, especially if it goes on for a long time. There's no record of communication, okay, unless it's maybe a video or a PowerPoint. But even a PowerPoint, once the speaker goes over it, they usually send out the PowerPoint, but the words that the speaker spoke is lost. Okay, unless it's a video, so again that can be sent out, but usually there's no record of communication. Okay, the presenter may lack confidence to present or speak, which may hinder their ability to convey that message successfully. Okay, so again, it's subjective. It depends on the presenter. Again, you could have a great presenter, so that could be an advantage. This is a slide just for online social media. Customers are one of a business's main stakeholders. Okay, that's just something to know. And customers can engage and communicate with businesses through various online methods. Businesses now have social media accounts such as Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, etc. Maybe you could think of others. Businesses communicate using social media, which means they are keeping up to date with recent trends. Okay, so they're keeping up to date with recent trends, with what their customers are using, and are also able to communicate with a wide audience, okay, with no geographical limitations. So that's the main benefit of online means and using social media. Okay, they can communicate with a wide audience, maybe 24/7 availability as well. If anybody wants to access the website or find out some information late at night, after closing hours, the information should still be there to access. Okay, still be able to view a website or a company's products that they're offering. It's available for all to view and communicate with online, not only customers but members of the public looking to become employees through LinkedIn, for example. Okay, some prospective employees may apply through LinkedIn to a business. Okay, there may be job opportunities advertised there, so that's a great way of businesses communicating with stakeholders, all right, through job advertisements, and that will be a formal method as well. Now, the importance of communication to aid business success. All employees clearly understand their job role, so there should be no confusion or waste of time. Okay, and this is using the correct method, communicating with the correct person. Okay, it helps to keep employees motivated and on task, so therefore they become more productive. It helps provide information to customers, and if you provide the correct information to customers, they may end up purchasing the product or service. Okay, if somebody goes into a shop and they ask about a specific product, like a specific Hoover, and the customer service assistant or customer sales assistant doesn't really have that product knowledge or product information for the customer, and says, you know what, I'm not too sure about that, the customer may decide to go to a different business just because of that. I mean, they want information and they want it there, they want it then. So it's your job to provide that information. Otherwise, you may lose a sale. So communication keeps investors informed about business performance, and they may decide to invest more, maybe to buy more shares, maybe to provide a loan. Okay, so that's pretty much that. Okay, it keeps investors informed if they want to see sales figures or financial reports, and if the business is doing well, again, they'll decide to invest more. Positive relationships are built, especially with external stakeholders. And if you can keep your external stakeholders up to date, keep them informed, such as your suppliers and your local community, it helps to build long-term relationships. Okay, suppliers want to be supplying your business for the long term. They want to set up contracts, long-term contracts with you. Okay, so they've got that stability, and you want your suppliers to do that as well. So you've got that stability as well as a business. And you want to keep your local community up to date with anything. Okay, and that will help build positive relationships too. Overall effective business communications, successful business communications should increase maybe your brand awareness, customer loyalty, sales, profits, investments, and anything else you can think of. Okay, so we've got an activity here. It says to discuss whether the methods of communication in the scenarios below with the following stakeholders will bring about a positive or negative relationship with the business, and try to explain why. So you've got 5 scenarios there. You need to read through them and just simply state whether you think this will bring about positive or negative relationship. Okay, and try to explain it as well. I'll give you time now to pause the video and answer those questions. Okay, you should have paused the video now. So question 1 or scenario 1 says, a customer has arrived at store with a complaint about a product they bought yesterday and has been asked to communicate their complaint through an email. So I think that will be a negative. That will bring about a negative relationship. Okay, why? Because usually if you've got a complaint about a product, it should be solved or resolved there and then. Okay, you shouldn't be asked to then have to send an email and then wait, for a response. Who knows how long that could take. Okay, you bought a product yesterday, it should be resolved today. Number 2, a prospective investor wants to purchase shares in a company and so views the business's financial reports online. This would be, I've put down as positive. They want to invest in a company. Financial reports are online, available for the investor to see and view. Then they'll make their decision on whether the business is successful or not, and whether they'll purchase shares. So that's positive. Okay, everything's available online for them. An online business states to call the store between 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for any customer inquiries. Okay, so whatever this business is, you're online, you're looking at the business, the website. You've got an inquiry. It says you can call us between 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now I've got that down as negative because 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. is usually a time where people are at work or busy. So it should be maybe a time after that. Maybe you've put it down as positive. Who knows? Okay, that is a bit of a disputable one because I haven't actually put down the days. I was meant to put down Monday to Friday, but you could argue, okay, on the weekend they call them. That's fine. All right. Number 4, a manager of a phone shop presents the week's financial performance verbally to their subordinates, so to their staff, during an early morning briefing. I've written down that that's a negative. I don't think financial performance of the week should be presented verbally. I think there should be some form of written report or something for the staff to see visually. Okay. A business posts leaflets, number 5 now, door to door to the local community, containing product information about their new local restaurant. Okay, now I've said that this is a positive because the local community is kept up to date. There's a new local restaurant in town. Here's a leaflet. Here's the products. Here's the information. Maybe the prices. It's nice. That's nice to receive. But it could be seen as a negative thing. The local community might not really want to have another local restaurant, possibly. This may upset them. They may receive these leaflets as junk mail. They may get leaflets on a daily basis, weekly basis, and not want this. And I may deem it to be junk mail. Okay, so that could bring about a negative relationship with that business. Okay. Now, we will now complete M1, assess the relationship of communication with stakeholders of 2 contrasting businesses using independent research. And I will now go over the structure sheet with you for M1.